Good afternoon. I'm Al Kresta. Thomas Schmierer is a licensed marriage and family therapist with a master's in marriage and family therapy and a master's in moral theology. And so what he does as a Catholic counselor is help couples improve their lives and relationships by adhering to the teachings of the Church. His principles are rooted in the teachings of St. Thomas Aquinas. And he says when we learn to stop doing and begin to simply be, we start recognizing the goodness within ourselves and others as beings created in the image and likeness of God. I've asked Thomas Schmierer to join us today and give us some idea of the work that he's doing with his organization, Vatican Values Counseling. Thomas, good to have you with me. Thanks.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be on the show.
Tell me about how you got started in this field of, well, it's not really, I'm sure for you it's a sense of calling.
Yes, yeah. You're right. Yeah.
How'd that start?
Of course, I went to school for it. Got a master's degree in marriage and family therapy, and then at the same time, because I really didn't trust psychology, and even to this day, I'm a little different than my peers.
Sure.
Just by being a faithful Catholic,
mm-hmm.
And because I didn't trust secular psychology, at the same time I was going to school for therapy, I went to school for a master's in moral theology from
mm-hmm.
Holy Apostles College and Seminary.
Yeah, it's in Cromwell, Connecticut.
Exactly,
yeah,
and
I
did it
mm-hmm.
through the distance learning program.
Yeah, sure. Well, what do you think of lay out for me what you think the biggest contrasts are, the greatest contrasts between your approach, rooted in the teaching of the Church and its moral theology, and a more secular approach. Where does it come into conflict most clearly? Well,
the secular approach, in my mind, is completely lost. There's no foundation to it. I mean, it's founded on moral relativism.
Mm-hmm.
And, so for example, the California Association of Marriage and Family Therapists supports physician-assisted suicide.
Yeah.
It's really at its core, a solid Catholic psychotherapy is nothing like secular therapy. In secular therapy, the human being, it is okay to believe that human beings are God. And so I went and spoke out against it, and it's really strange that a therapist would not be for someone not committing suicide.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you find yourself at odds then with the vast majority of men and women in your profession.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And the great thing is that I was able to do my internship under the supervision of Dr. Joseph Nicolosi at the
Sure.
Thomas Aquinas Psychological Clinic.
Yeah.
So that was like a little safe haven because there was a group of maybe 6 of us, and, we really were at odds with the rest of the profession.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it's certainly when it comes right to the nature of the human person, I mean, you've got massive disagreements there.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if you're doing the work of therapy and counseling, then obviously you're going to have great conflict if you have a different understanding of what it means to be human. The origin and destiny of the human person is different in a Catholic worldview than it would be in a more secular worldview.
Exactly. And I really have been influenced by Conrad Baars and Anna Terruwe, 2
mm-hmm.
Catholic psychiatrists who really formulated the Catholic psychology or psychotherapy. And it's really, their thought is really founded on this belief that we are created in the image and likeness of God, and about how we can really emotionally strengthen one another to give each other the gift of affirmation, which means that in the end, after receiving this gift of emotional strengthening, we will feel loved and lovable, and, as persons created in the image and likeness of God.
So you maintain a practice is it California?
That's right.
Because that's where we met at the Theology of the Body conference. Yeah.
Yes. I'm in Carlsbad, California.
Okay. Do you have a phone number there?
Phone number is 760-529-0830, and my website is VaticanValues.com.
VaticanValues.com. And the number again is 760-529-0830. Okay, very good. Let's talk a little about the kind of therapy that you do. Is there an area of specialization that you have?
Yes. I do all the normal stuff that every therapist does, like treat anxiety and depression, things like that. And then, in addition, I do affirmation therapy, which is really a Catholic therapy, or was developed by Catholics. The ones I had just mentioned, Conrad Baars and Anna Terruwe. And then I treat scrupulosity, also known as religious OCD, and I treat sex and porn addictions. Also, of course, because for those listeners who are familiar with Dr. Joseph Nicolosi, since I did my internship with him, I really have been able to master something called reparative therapy, which treats unwanted same-sex attraction. And then I've also picked up the specialties of helping couples heal from affairs, and also treating panic attacks and helping heal from past traumas using a methodology called EMDR.
What EMDR? What's that?
It stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. And basically in this methodology, you help stimulate the left side and the right side of the body, either through the eyes or, there's other ways of doing it. It's called bilateral stimulation, and it sounds a little weird, a little funky, but actually this is a type of therapy that there's a lot of evidence on it, and it's really accepted by the profession. It's been around for maybe 15 years. And, it was originally used to help soldiers who would come back from wars with post-traumatic stress disorder, and it's able to provide a lot of relief. But then we found you can treat a lot of different psychological problems with it, especially ones that involve past emotional traumas. So if mom yelled at you for spilling your milk and was too harsh about it, even those kinds of traumas can be healed using EMDR.
Wow. So how do you, do you receive referrals from priests and pastors?
Yes.
Are they in the marketplace? How do people become aware of you?
How do they become aware of me? Well, there's the website CatholicTherapist.com, and I'm on there.
Okay.
And then, of course, priests. But see, we have to face it. If we're going to be general, we can categorize priests into two categories, faithful and unfaithful. And so I'm only going to get referrals from the faithful priests, especially with a name like Vatican Values Counseling.
Yeah.
So
obviously, they're going to assume that you're that you're striving to be in accord with the teaching of the Church.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So I'm really here. I'm in a niche market for faithful Catholics. And that's what I went to school for. That's what I wanted to do. That's my life's mission right now, outside of being a good husband to my wife.
Sure. It would be difficult. It would be difficult to communicate clearly with non-Catholics, I suppose, who come to you for assistance because they don't embrace a Catholic worldview. Would that be tough?
Yeah, it's really difficult, and I do treat anyone who comes in general. And so, you have, let's say, for example, a wife who wants to divorce her husband, and, basically she had decided to cheat on her husband and didn't think there was anything wrong with it.
Right.
And she's doing, maybe messing around with someone else before getting the divorce. And then I asked, do you think anything's wrong with that?
Right.
And if they say no, then where can I go from there? It's a little bit difficult because they don't have the moral compass.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, she's sabotaging her own well-being.
Right, but there's without faith in this kind of objective truth from Revelation, from the Bible, from Scripture, from correct understanding of Scripture, how is she even going to know that for sure that that's wrong? Of course, we all have access, to that. We were created to know that, but through, really, through many different ways. For example, just the culture and what the culture's, the message that the culture is spreading. People can get really confused and lose touch with the truth, I think.
Sure. Well, this is the problem with living in a culture which no longer shares foundational assumptions about the dignity of the human person. A lot of people don't even think there's a common human, that there's a human destiny. You know what I'm saying? It's all left up in the air, and there's a lot of agnostic thinking about it, and it makes it. It seems to me it would make it more difficult for a Catholic to communicate effectively with non-Catholics who are seeking therapy. How does natural law play into your work? It's
super important, super important. And one thing that I think is important about natural law is it's the human natural law. It's not like we're going to copy the natural world.
Right.
Right. Humans have a different law, right?
Yes, we're different creatures. Mm-hmm.
So it's huge. It's the bridge between. It's how I can really sort of convey our Catholic principles in a secular way. Mm-hmm. So it's really it's the way to. It's the theory to use to guide a therapist when working with non-Catholics, for sure.
Let people know again how they can get in touch with you if they're looking for a Catholic therapist.
Yes, they can go through my website, VaticanValues.com, and also they can call me at 760-529-0830, and I treat people who are located in the state of California.
Okay. Thomas, thank you very much. Good talking with you. And we'll talk again.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me on. I look forward to it.
Vatican Values Counseling, Thomas Schmierer. The phone number once again, 760-529-0830. Again, Vatican Values Counseling.